You promised to leave once I came back, didn't you? The month is almost over, and I'll ask you to hand over the divorce petition as a final step. A woman and a child were next to my husband, Matthew. The child, whom the woman was holding hands with, looked to be around preschool age. Let me introduce to you my wife, Vanessa. Vanessa was still young and quite flashy. As I said earlier, we will be strangers now, and you guys no longer have any right to be in this house. My ex-husband said so and suddenly sported an unpleasant smirk. Sign the divorce petition and you guys get out of this house. His gaze looked down on me and my son, Timothy, with a triumphant gleam. Matthew probably believed everything was going as well as he wanted it to, but he collapsed on the spot when he learned the truth. How can you do this? I thought you were just a housewife who knew nothing. Timothy responded with a sigh of disbelief. What? Dad, you don't know anything? When Timothy showed him a book, Matthew went half crazy. My name is Michelle, I'm 42 years old. I work part-time, balancing my household chores. I have a 16-year-old son with my husband who works in a trading company. Matthew travels frequently for work, both domestically and internationally, and I have mostly raised our son alone. We are currently living apart due to his job, so most of our communication is through calls or messages. He lived in another state and it was a bit too far to make a day trip. So the only time he would come home was during the holidays and when he took his summer vacation. During those times, we rarely had a chance to relax at home with just the family, as we would show up at my in-laws' house, which was about an hour's drive away. I thought our relationship was neither particularly good nor bad. I thought that was quite normal for couples who lived together for more than a decade of marriage. It was like love for us was as a family and not as a romantic thing as a man and a woman. My husband worked for a trading company that was considered a major firm, so we have never had any difficulties in making ends meet so far. He was often away, so I stayed at home when our son Timothy was young. To avoid making him feel lonely, Matthew also agreed to this arrangement. But as Timothy reached the upper grades of elementary school and Matthew started living apart due to his job, it somehow began to look like he was keeping me away from him. It seems that my brother went through a similar phase at that age. That's when I started thinking about getting a job. It's fine for you to work, but I don't want other people to think I'm not earning enough money. That was Matthew's first comment when I brought it up. Perhaps you can pick a job that will allow you to further pursue what you love, or one that will make you feel personally enriched. I was open to any job that suited me, but considering his opinion, I decided to work as an assistant for a floral design class. In addition to already having a bit of a background in floral design, I thought it would be useful in the future. As my husband's work often involves a wide range of socializing opportunities, including parties. That's great, it will be useful even if I get transferred anywhere, even abroad. Matthew also supported me, and I have kept that part-time job since then. Although we don't struggle financially, I've been wanting to have a serious talk with him about Timothy's future. Yeah, I've been thinking we need to sit down and talk about our future too. I was relieved to hear my husband's answer. Timothy was a sophomore in high school and would be a junior this fall. It was time to start thinking seriously about Timothy's future academic path. I'm supposed to return to the headquarters this fall. It coincides perfectly with the school calendar. However, our future, he mentioned when he came home for winter holiday break, was completely unexpected. I want a divorce. He started the conversation without giving any reason first. We've been separated for a long time, and I think that's enough reason for a divorce. It's not too late for either of us to start a new life. Wait. This is so sudden. I was completely caught off guard. In a panic, I interrupted him. Separated? You were just on a job assignment. I never thought of it as a separation. But you didn't come with me, did you? That was because of Timothy's school and also your father. His father was in good health and lived alone in a senior housing complex. The house we lived in at the time was originally Matthew's parents' house. But when we got married, his parents moved out of their house and moved into the senior housing complex. He has never gotten along well with his father. Matthew used to keep in touch with them when his mother was still doing well, but after she passed away, he no longer had any contact with his father. I told you to leave him alone, right? He's in a good facility, and we don't need to take care of him. I can't just leave him alone. The souring of Matthew and his father's relationship wasn't due to any significant reason. With all of the little issues built up over the years, there must have been a kind of relationship that did not work out. Even between parents and children. Both his father and the late mother were very nice people. That's why I had a close relationship with both of them, and I kept in touch with his father even after he was left alone. I also visited him in the senior housing complex from time to time. That's something you did on your own. I never asked you to do that, did I? It certainly was, but I could not accept his claim so easily. The same goes for Timothy's school. You could have transferred him to another school if you chose. You were the one who wanted Timothy to attend that school. Timothy enrolled in an integrated school straight through college after passing the so-called advanced admissions test. I wanted that too, but you could have transferred him if you really wanted to, right? I know what you mean, but we just can't do that. That's what I mean. You didn't choose to live with me. So here it is. He then handed me a prepared divorce petition. I've come all the way home, but you don't want to be with me in this situation either. I'm going to stay in a hotel. With that, he left the house. I was left stunned, unable to do anything. What are you doing in there, without the lights on? Where's Dad? On that day, Timothy had gone to see a movie from the morning with a friend. He returned home after the sun had completely set and it was dark outside. Meanwhile, it was early afternoon when Matthew came home and then left. It seemed I had just sat there for hours. What's this? Timothy picked up the divorce petition that were still on the coffee table. What should I do? How should I explain this? Still confused in my mind, I didn't even know what to say or how to say it to Timothy. Seeing me frozen, Timothy sighed, put it down, and left. Oh, not only my husband but surely my son will leave me. Lost in thought, Timothy returned almost immediately. Eat this. If you are hungry, you won't be able to think properly. Eat well and sleep tight, and then we'll think about where we go from here. He said, and he offered me a plate with 2 large sandwiches on it. He must have tried his best to make them. I couldn't help but cry when I thought of that. Just eat your sandwich. He insisted, pretending not to notice my tears, as I began eating the sandwiches through my sobs. The simple cheese sandwiches tasted better than any gourmet meal I had ever had. After going back to his assignment location, Matthew sent me a few messages. It went something like this. I want a divorce by next fall. I will properly pay child support until Timothy becomes an adult. I will take care of him until he graduates. Even though he will probably not have graduated yet when he turns 18. His patronizing tone, as if he was doing me a favor, was infuriating. Timothy was my child as well as Matthew's. So how could he be so pompous about his minimal obligations? I will live in the house when I return in the fall. I want you to be ready to move out by then. If you have a little more than 6 months, you should be able to find a suitable place. I will cover the moving expenses out of the goodness of my heart. If I needed to move out of the house we had lived in for years, of course, I expected him to pay. But I just couldn't see why I needed to do that. What was the reason why we had to leave this house? The reason for our divorce is the natural breakdown of our marriage. However, I acknowledge your years of dedication to take care of the housework and childcare, and I'm willing to give some support money. I haven't been living a life of leisure. Although we've lived apart, I visited him with Timothy when he couldn't come home, and we interacted like any normal family during those visits. I simply couldn't accept natural breakdown as a reason. If you can't make ends meet with your current job, I'm willing to help you find a new job. But in that case, you must leave the town. You won't be happy to see me either. I could never make a living just from my current job as an assistant in a floral design class. But when he told me to leave this town and find a job there, I couldn't accept such a request very easily. Why did I have to do that? I'll give you custody of Timothy. You have lived with him for many years, and I think he will be more comfortable with you. Besides, he's almost an adult, he shouldn't rely on his parents forever. If he needs me, I can discuss matters with him. But I won't make any requests to see him. If we were to get divorced, I was going to get custody of Timothy. But reading his messages, all I could think was that Matthew was trying to get rid of his son as well. How could he be so ruthless? How hurt Timothy would be if he knew about this. I sighed after reading everything, finding none of his reasons acceptable. How selfish these messages were. I was shocked and devastated when he first mentioned divorce, but then, I came to feel better to get rid of such a selfish person from us. I went to his assignment location to talk things over. He was still at work, but I had a duplicate key to his apartment. As usual, the room was impeccably tidy. It felt completely devoid of life. He's always been meticulous, but it was like a showroom. When I was waiting in the room, Matthew came home at night. I didn't know you were coming. If you're coming, at least call ahead. He said gruffly. Did you bring a signed divorce petition with you today? Everything was already prepared. You could have just signed it and filed it with the court. He didn't even look at me as he took off his suit jacket and untied his tie. He was carefully hanging them and smoothing out the wrinkles. He's always been like this. I remembered the times we lived together. Everything was always perfect, not a thing out of place. A surprise inspection to see if there's another woman? If so, too bad for you. Indeed, there was no sign of any other woman. What about dinner? I already ate, as usual. When was the last time I enjoyed a home-cooked meal? He said sarcastically, then took a cold beer from the fridge, sat at the table, and started drinking. Now you see why I want a divorce. I'm tired of living like this for so many years. Then you should have just asked me to come. You started working part-time while taking care of Timothy, and have established a routine. I can't ask you to give that all up. He took another sip of his beer. One day, it suddenly occurred to me that maybe I don't need a family. It seemed like he was insisting that our separation during his assignment was the cause for divorce. Can't you at least wait until Timothy graduates from high school? It's just another year and a half, not even 2 years. No, I want the divorce by next fall. What's happening next fall? He reacted a bit when I blurted out these words. Didn't I tell you? I am going back to the headquarters. I just thought it was a good time for a change. Can't we live together as a family for another year or so? No, it's over by next fall. The discussion was at an impasse. He was adamant about divorcing by next fall. Unable to do anything else, I left his apartment and stayed at a hotel that night, deciding to return home the next day. Because I couldn't bear the thought of spending time alone with my husband there. After that, I stopped visiting him. It was clear that it would be pointless. All important matters were handled through messages that left a record, and I began to prepare for various things as fall approached. First, I addressed the unacceptable parts of his proposal. I demanded that he supports Timothy's education until he graduates from college. If he didn't agree with that, I wouldn't sign the divorce petition. After I sent that message, he called, furious. I said until he's 18. If you disagree with that, I won't pay any child support after the divorce. That's unreasonable because until the divorce petition is filed, we are still married. And you are obligated to pay child support even after the divorce. After several exchanges on this matter, he finally gave in. Fine, I'll pay for Timothy's education for 4 years, but if he fails any year, I won't pay for anything beyond that. Understood. Please ensure that for 4 years. And let's have it in a notarized document. You don't trust me? Of course, I couldn't. He was the kind of man who suddenly confronted me with a divorce for that reason. I needed everything documented in case he changed his mind. If you can't agree, we'll go to divorce mediation, and if that doesn't work, we'll go to court. Then he agreed to notarize it. All right, then hurry up and file the divorce petition with the court. Every time he told me, I confronted him about the terms of divorce he had set that I didn't agree with. Regarding the division of property, please make sure that this is done appropriately. I've been supporting you with no income, and you are still trying to take money from me. I wasn't just being supported, I was raising a child with you. If you think of me as some jobless parasite, then we can go to mediation or court. Reluctantly, he agreed to the division of property, and of course, we had that notarized too. Given his high salary, it was a substantial amount. With all you're taking, that should be more than enough. Now file the divorce petition soon. Oh, but you said next fall would be fine, right? Let's wait in case there's something else. If you think delaying will make me retract the divorce, you're sorely mistaken. As fall approached, he became increasingly irritable and less able to hide his frustration. Why are you so irritated? A little discrepancy shouldn't be a problem. It is a big deal. Do you have any urgent matters? If so, please let me know, and I'll consider them. Even though I offered to compromise, he said there was no such thing. Then I knew that even if I didn't agree to a divorce until I was satisfied, it wouldn't matter. Anyway, I was the one in control at the moment. I was going to let myself do it until I felt satisfied. Along with my reluctance to sign the divorce petition, I had a number of things going on and the months flew by. When will you finally file the divorce petition with a court? It's already June. Matthew said, growing impatient. Yes, it's June now. But there's still 3 months until fall, and a little delay wouldn't hurt. You know what, I'm asking you to file it with a court as soon as possible. Because I want to be divorced by the time I get back to headquarters. Even so, it's hard to make up my mind, and there's so much to do. I skillfully dodged his demands. And you've already decided on a place to live, right? Don't worry, that's already settled. That's good to know. I'll be commuting from that house in the fall. He seemed genuinely relieved by my words. Please take care on your way back. You say that, but you and Timothy are leaving the house in a sort of swap with me. I'm never going back to you guys, keep that in mind. I knew that, without being told that. I had no intention of ever accepting this man as family again. And in the last week of August, he returned home. Although various arrangements had been made, the divorce petition was not filed yet. You promised to leave once I came back, didn't you? The month is almost over, and I'll ask you to hand over the divorce petition as a final step. A woman and a child were next to Matthew. The child, whom the woman was holding hands with, looked to be around preschool age. Let me introduce to you my wife, Vanessa. Vanessa was still young and quite flashy. Nice to meet you. Is he your son? Vanessa awkwardly hid the child behind her. What's your name, sweetie? Hey, stop it. It's none of your business. He said this to me, protecting the child as well. As I said earlier, we will be strangers now, and you guys no longer have any right to be in this house. He said so and suddenly sported an unpleasant smirk. Sign the divorce petition and you guys get out of this house. His gaze looked down on me, and my son, Timothy, with a triumphant gleam. So that was your plan all along. What does it matter? All that's left is to file the divorce petition with the court, and that's it. I'm relieved to hear that. I heard you received a lot from Matthew, and now I don't have to feel guilty about it anymore, right? Her last sentence was apparently to Matthew. Yes, that's right. I really should have registered the marriage properly by today. I'm truly sorry about that. But it seems it will all be sorted before Sean starts school. Yes, that was the reason he was rushing to get divorced. It was to get everything sorted before the child born to Vanessa could start school. As a parent, I could understand their feeling to hope to enroll their child in school as a legitimate family. But that was another story. I addressed Matthew and Vanessa. As for the alimony, I'll take it. But nothing about alimony should have been mentioned in the notarized deed. Yeah, of the divorce. I pointed to the notarized document that was prepared. No alimony for the divorce, but I'll take it from you for the inappropriate relationship between you and the woman and her child. And of course, I will take it from the woman too. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not paying a single penny for that. He shouted, his voice filled with anger. The child, called Sean, flinched and clung to Vanessa. I'm not joking. Claims for damages due to infidelity can be made within 3 years of discovering the fact. It's clearly stipulated by law. Compensation for infidelity matters. However, given that the cause of the divorce you cited, our long separation due to your assignment, was a lie, it seems I could also claim alimony for the divorce. What are you talking about? The true reason for the divorce is them. You want to divorce me to remarry that woman and officially recognize your child, right? If that were the reason, of course, I would claim alimony. It was clearly stipulated in the law. If the reason for the divorce was based on false or threatened divorce, the divorce itself could be annulled. I showed all the documents to Matthew and Vanessa. Of course, the divorce hasn't been finalized yet, and I think I can amend what's in that notarized document. His hands trembled as he held the documents. I said this with a full smile to him. If that's the case, then the agreement on Timothy's school expenses has been annulled too. That's not possible. There's no justifiable reason to revoke it. It's the same notarized document. He argued desperately, but his point didn't stand. It's the same document, but the content is different, isn't it? If I had lied, perhaps your argument could hold. But there's no falsehood on my side. This is the fact and the truth. I demanded that he would fulfill his obligations as Timothy's parent, which he had agreed to. There were no lies there. So, I don't think your claim will stand. Fine, I got it. If I have to pay, I'll pay. Thank you. I kept a broad smile. I beamed so that he and Vanessa would be as much frustrated as possible. How dare you? He spat out the words. But if it's just about money, fine, just hand over the divorce petition now. Sure, that's fine. Actually, I already filed it this morning. Here, this is the proof of receipt. I handed him the certificate of acceptance for that. Once I have this, it's all mine. He showed it to Vanessa, and they smiled to each other in satisfaction. Well, our talk is over, then you have no need to be here. Get the hell out. Oh, you know what? Timothy and I have a right to live here. You are the ones who should leave. Are you insane? This is my house. My poor husband had no idea. I should have taught him properly. Whose name is on the deed to this house? That would be my father's. What's his is mine. No, this house is in my name. Hearing this, he momentarily showed a look of surprise, then quickly laughed and said, Maybe you think it's in your name because you have residency? I would never make such a foolish mistake. If you divorce me, you will no longer have any relation to my dad, meaning you'll lose the right to live in this house. I sighed and handed over another document. What is this about? His eyes widened as he looked at the document. I've been legally adopted by your father. He decided to leave this house to me through inheritance. The document I showed him was the adoption documents. It was clearly stated there that I was adopted. That's ridiculous. See, it's true, isn't it? Your father did that, just because I had taken care of him for so long. After Matthew brought up divorce, I consulted with his father. My own parents were already gone. Both my parents died shortly after our marriage, one after the other. My in-laws treated me like their own daughter. So I cared for my in-laws too, much more than Matthew, their own son. My father-in-law advised me to investigate thoroughly and hired a detective agency for that purpose. As a result, it was revealed that Matthew had a mistress and a child in secret. The reason you wanted to work alone away from home was to live with her, wasn't it? Vanessa met him while working as a server at a bar. She was only 20 at the time but soon became close to him. And she eventually became pregnant. He, contemplating various things, decided to lead a double life to live with Vanessa and their child. I visited your remote work location several times but never saw any trace of a woman. Now I understand why. He had 2 houses at his assignment location. One was a sweet home for them to live in, and the other was camouflage to keep visitors like us from finding out there were other women. After he moved for his job, I visited him several times with our son Timothy. I always admired how neat everything was, but now it makes sense. It was practically unoccupied. He even installed cameras in the house to alert him whenever someone entered the room. Learning about this? Your father was so appalled by your malice that he decided to leave you nothing and he would make sure everything went to Timothy. Then he offered to adopt me. That's absurd. Matthew probably believed everything was going as well as he wanted it to, but he collapsed on the spot when he learned the truth. Do you know what estate planning is? Your father had it formally created. It is what is called a will regarding the inheritance. What is that? Simply stated, my father-in-law chooses his own heirs to his estate by creating a living trust and appointing Timothy as the beneficiary. The entire estate belongs to Timothy. In this case, Matthew was almost estranged from his father, who decided to take action due to his appalling treatment of his family. My father-in-law said he would do so, as a way of expressing his gratitude to me, his son's wife, for being there for him through all those years of conflict with his son, and also as an apology for what his own son had done to me. However, if Matthew was dissatisfied with the execution, he could contest that in court. To counter this, my father-in-law tried to weaken the legitimacy of Matthew's objection by adopting me and transferring the name of this house to me, thereby making his inheritance to Timothy more secure. After consulting with your father, we decided to go this route. How could you do something like this? I thought you were a housewife and didn't know anything. Timothy remarked incredulously. Dad, what are you talking about? You didn't know anything? Timothy handed him a book. Mrs. Rose's Brilliant Deductions? What's the matter with this book? I know, it's a very popular young adult book and I assume it will soon be made into animated film. I read it too, I love it. That book was written by my mom. She studied a lot to write it, including learning a lot about law. At Timothy's words, both of them were stunned. Indeed, I was just as Matthew thought, a naive housewife who hadn't really accomplished anything. However, I did have a passion for writing and had secretly been posting novels online without telling him. Using the floral design class I worked part-time as a setting, I wrote a series about Mrs. Rose, an assistant and housewife, who solved one difficult case after another. It turned out to be a huge hit. I haven't heard anything about it. I thought it was time for me to confess to you after the animated film adaptation talks underway, but then the divorce came first. That's too bad for you. In that case, the royalties from that book are marital property, right? How much money is coming in from the animated film? We need to divide that properly, too, right? Unfortunately for you, the divorce is final. The royalties from books and income from the animated film adaptation have nothing to do with you anymore. Hearing my words, he cried out loud, repeatedly muttering, "It can't be true." Disappointing, isn't it? After years of belittling and trying to deceive me, you think there's value in using me once you realize I have worth? If you have anything to say, you can speak to my lawyer from now on. Now, please leave. With that, I immediately kicked him and Vanessa out of the house. I felt sorry for little Sean, but there was nothing I could do for him. Matthew pleaded for reconciliation numerous times, but there was no way I would accept. More importantly, make sure you legally recognize Sean. He's starting elementary school soon, right? It would be cruel to leave things as they are. Later, Vanessa also pressed for recognition of Sean, and they registered him, officially becoming family. It would be natural for him to do so for the sake of the child for whom he was responsible. After waiting for Sean's elementary school to start and their lives to settle down, I filed for alimony court. After all, it was for years of infidelity and a double life. The amount of the alimony was substantial. You're making quite a bit, right? Then you can afford to reduce the alimony. Forget it ever happened. Such a ridiculous request came to me, which of course, I rejected. No matter who I am, there's no doubt in my mind that I am hurt by the way you have treated me. Alimony is money to compensate for that hurt. And only a monetary amount can express your apology, so I'm asking you to pay me a reasonable amount for that. And it has nothing to do with my income. I told him I would fight him hard in court if he refused any more, and he paid me nicely. He apparently borrowed the money for the alimony from his company. He thought he could continue working quietly at the headquarters and repay the debt, but somehow the company found out what he had done. It also became known that his request for a remote assignment was for such immoral purposes. Heaven's net is vast and wide, yet it lets nothing slip through. It was well said that the heavens are watching. The senior management at his company was furious once they found out that he had abused his position for such immoral purposes. As a result, he was demoted and transferred to a subsidiary in a remote area. His salary was reduced, and now both he and his wife are struggling to repay their debts. But, ultimately, it was probably for the best. In a new place, Sean can start fresh without anyone knowing he was born under such circumstances, just like any other normal family. Innocent children should not suffer because of their parents' actions. As for me, after the divorce, my work was successfully adapted into an animated film, sparking a bit of a craze. Merchandise was also developed. And the paper book marketed with an appendix was a big hit in this age when ebooks are becoming the mainstay of the market. My editor keeps nagging me for the next piece. Life is busy, and I hardly have time to dwell on past wounds. The animated film is hugely popular worldwide. My work is being broadcast here and there, and the response from abroad has been great. Despite everything that has happened, Timothy has grown up honest and sincere. He's going off to college this spring and has told me he wants to use those 4 years to find what he really wants to do, just like I did. It's my life, no matter what, so I won't rely on mom too much. He says such cheeky things, but as a parent, I'd be happier if he relied on me a little. Maybe I'll write a new piece with a cheeky college student as the protagonist. I have a feeling the next work will be a hit, too. I am thinking such a thing on my own while watching my son who is strong and solid.